Hi, everyone. I'm happy to virtually welcome you all to today's Ad Art Show 2020 Lunchtime POV from MVVO Art. My name is Emily Anastasi from the MVVO Art team. It is my pleasure to introduce today's show titled Secrets to Successful Collecting, which is hosted by Debbie Wells of Artful Circle, featuring Laura Skoler, art collector, board of directors at the New Museum, and Ad Art Show jury and selection committee chair. Welcome, everyone. Let's get started.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Emily. I really appreciate that nice introduction. So we'll get right into getting to know Laura a little bit because she is a very interesting person. We actually had a little preliminary conversation the other day, and I am dying to meet you in person. But I guess at this point, Zoom will have to do.
Right.
And we're obviously compadres because we're both wearing red and white, and we're all set. So let's just start about the fact that you are a collector and you like to live with your art. Can you tell me a little bit about how you're an art lover? Because I think you're not an artist, you're an art lover.
Right. Although I must say that when I was at Bennington, I took sculpture courses. So, I do write poetry if that's art. Anyway. As you can see from behind me, this is just part of a wall with many different things, sculpture, outsider art, which I don't like that title of outsider, but that's what it is. And one of my very few dead artists who I bought a long time ago, Alfred Jensen, the large piece. I don't know where to begin except to say by chance, I went to the New Museum through the advice of a gallery owner many years ago. And I came into the new school, which was not why it was named the New Museum, but that one of the board members, Vera List, who left the Whitney to be with Marcia Tucker, gave her the space in that building because they had financed the building. And I couldn't believe what I saw. It was a gallery, a small gallery, and I decided I wanted to volunteer. And when I met Marcia Tucker finally, because she was hardly there, she said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I'll do anything. I really want to learn more about contemporary art. And that was the beginning. As I grew up with the New Museum. It was like 2 years after she started it. So.
Well, that is a wonderful way to start because volunteering and immersing yourself in the art world is the only way to really learn it. And now I see that you've really surrounded yourself with art. And I've heard from hearing about your apartment that you don't have 1 inch of wall space, but you're always willing to make room for more. Is that true?
Yes, I put it on the floor and somehow I manage. I don't know how I do it. And I do have another bedroom, of course, and the bathroom is full of art.
So now tell me how you got involved with actually collecting art and what you're looking for when you look to actually purchase and beautify your home.
Well, for me, I got involved, obviously, with Marcia Tucker. I learned how to go to an artist studio. I learned never to say, oh, this is great. It looks just like
another artist.
Somebody, I learned a lot and my eyes got opened and I met some people who were interested in art. And I started going to galleries and I actually had a mind of my own. I never listened to anybody. I buy with my ears and probably my heart, but never, I buy with my eyes, but never with my ears. I hear, from California people, this woman is hot, this guy is hot. Don't do it. Unless, I don't believe in investment art. I know that very wealthy people who can afford $50 million for a Basquiat, and believe it or not, if you want to know, back in the day in Anina No-Size basement, Basquiat was painting.
Yes.
I could have bought $500 a Basquiat. It was too angry for me. And I mean, I don't feel like I missed anything because I'm true to who I am. I like color. I like objects. Obviously, I have a lot of objects. I have a lot of things that light. I can't show them to you now. I have things that hang from the ceiling. So,
And you
and
do
it's
have a few,
fun. And
you do have a few famous people.
oh yes, I do.
Want
They
to name
weren't famous
those?
when I bought them.
Like who?
Well, I do have Bruce Nauman, who, by the way, is having another show Wednesday at Speroni. And of course, he had a big retrospective at MoMA and PS1. And I have, many of you probably don't know Al Jensen. I have Elizabeth Murray, who I knew all of these artists.
And some
I
women
will say-
artists too.
What?
Some women artists too.
Oh, yes, I have a lot of women artists. I have Mary Heilman. I bought a Mary Heilman in 1991 for so little money. And she is now, well, I say about women, you either have to be old or dead to be recognized. I have Louise Bourgeois. I bought that early on. And I have Mark Tansey. Probably a lot of you don't know him, but that was a big buy for very little money and a big family fight because nobody could understand why I would spend a couple of $1,000s for an art piece. This is in 80 or 81. I mean, it's fun. I've seen things grow in value, but I'm not a seller. And I have Marilyn Minter, early Marilyn
Oh, do
Minter.
you?
Yeah, I have a lot of women.
That's actually a very interesting collection, but I can see the things that you're attracted to is what you want around you.
Right. And I don't know if I said this, but my biggest compliment is when people who come up here for the first time, they'll say, this apartment looks just like you. So to me, that's a compliment. I've been to some fabulous apartments. They have one Richter. They have one Basquiat, you know, they have one of everybody, one Warhol, but it's not to me a personal collection.
So now tell me a little bit more about outside, what you consider to be outside art and what attracts you to that.
Okay, well, I've been actually buying that for quite some time. It's now kind of in, I don't know why, but I maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, because I like the gestures, the movement, these people who make this art think differently. They're not conventional, and maybe I like to be a little unconventional in a certain way. I mean, I like my lipstick, I like my clothes and everything, but I like people who think outside the box. And I think and a lot of them use a lot of color. So to me, that was very interesting. And then I learned more about it. And I've actually gotten very friendly with people in Oakland, California, Creative Growth. I have a daughter who lives there. So, and they are involved in many art fairs. Of course, now we have a different art world.
Yes, this is true. Before we talk about the virtual world of art, I wanted to ask you about the new museum and what it means to you, their mission means to you, and why you're so interested in that kind of art.
Well, you say that kind of art. I don't quite know what that means. First of all, the woman who is showing now, I gotta think of her, so many names, who I saw when it first opened, but because it closed like 10 days afterwards. I think she's on the cover of Vogue. She's 31 years old. So she's making the new museum has an eye. The curator, our director, and I always love their motto. You know what their motto is?
No, I don't.
New art, new ideas, new museum. We have no permanent collection. I don't know if anybody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have a permanent collection or a collection, you have to have a space, you have to have conservation, and then a lot of times it comes with you have to actually show it. You know, if somebody gives you their collection.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I love seeing what's new. I don't always love it. You know, it's like fashion. How many times did you say, I'll never wear those long skirts, or I'll never do it? I can't picture my grandmother in pants. So, you know, life is about change. Our bodies change, our thinking has to change. But I think as human beings, we're very set in our ways. That's my little philosophy.
No, you know what? I agree with you. And that brings me to the perfect point of how you were talking about the new museum is different than a regular museum in the fact that they don't
Right.
have a permanent collection, which is
Right.
rare for a museum, but also the fact that now we're entering a new world of looking at art, which is virtual. And what do you think? What do you think of that? Obviously, it was starting, but the pandemic really pushed it forward. And you know, Ed Art is was a little ahead of their time actually with presenting virtual
Of course, yeah.
visual art virtually. What do you think of appreciating art by just looking at on screens?
Well, I think if you've looked around in your life, I have bought things from online. And I presume if it's a reputable dealer, or you could ask if I see it in person and, you know, do I have a few days to look at it? A lot of times, even when we had a different art world, you could get something from a gallery and try it at home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't do that with, you know, a really very expensive painting, or piece of art. The other thing, I just think that things are changing. I said last year, I went to Miami, but I had to be back Wednesday. And Wednesday's the VIP first day. I didn't miss it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm fared out, fare thee well. Because although I love meeting the people that I know from, you know, when you go to those art fairs, you really meet people. That's one great thing. Dealers from all over the world. And that's been a very important part of, for me, the art world. I could go to any country and feel at home. Just walk into a gallery, talk to somebody, they invite you for a drink.
Right, it's a bond.
Yeah. I don't think it will be, I think galleries will still exist.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know how many fairs are going to exist.
Well,
Because
changing.
Even if we don't have COVID, there are too many fairs, and it's very expensive for a dealer to go to a fair. So
the one thing, I don't know about you, but when I look at artwork, because I've curated shows at museums myself, and when you look at artwork on screen and you don't see it in person, the one thing I find is very deceiving and always tricks me unless I look at the numbers, scale.
the what?
Scale. The scale of
Scale.
Because you'll look at something and you think it's this big, and then it gets
not.
delivered and it's this big.
Well, they have to write the size on the piece.
Sometimes I forget to look because I get immersed in the image.
Right. I know. In fact, I think Maria's listening. We did institute for the jury with the artists that we would say for the 4 pieces A, B, C, D, so that the jurors could relate to a specific piece. We should always put the size of the piece.
Absolutely.
Right.
So,
and that's something, but that's learning, you know.
Let me just end this by saying that not only all your wonderful credentials, the other thing is that you juried this ad art show. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I didn't actually curate it.
No, jury.
Oh, jury. Well, I am on a foundation in Paris, the Guerlain Foundation, the first drawing foundation that gave money as a prize. They're fabulous people. And I took their model and adapted it to the first ad art show that I was involved in, which was when it was at Sotheby's, which meant at the time we didn't have a private room. But basically, you have jurors that are collectors, not professional, and you have an odd number, like 5 maximum, I would say. And they talk to the artists, they look at the work, I mean, this time virtually. And I think it was better because the artists were much more comfortable than standing in front of a group, 5 guys, women and men that were sitting. And then they write their number 1, number 2, and number 3 choice. And then we have to give them numbers, because if somebody doesn't get a majority, we have to give the one that was listed the most, you know. So it's a little bit of calculation, but everybody, all 7 are winners because they're out of over 135 artists that were chosen.
Yeah, which is fantastic that
It is.
Maria was able to get so many people from all over the world. And actually later in this lunchtime series, I'm going to be interviewing 3 of the winners. So you'll learn a little bit about them too. But we're so happy to learn about what collecting means to someone like you, and how you look at the whole art world and the art scene. You know, it's really great to get to meet you and learn a little bit about you.
I have to say one more thing,
Sure.
which is very important. It's called money.
Always important.
I have bought many, many pieces for $5,000 and less. Okay. Today, that's dirt cheap.
Yes,
because, you know, it really is. I mean, when you look back at any of these things, even art, a loaf of bread 20 years ago, what it cost, you know, anything, it's inflation. So a lot of people look at it, oh, how can I buy this? And yet they will go out to Saks Fifth Avenue and spend a fortune on clothes or a dress, and not say, oh, I have to bring my husband, I have to, if it's a woman, or this is a different thing. And it's something that should give you pleasure. And sometimes they'll let you pay it off in a few months. I mean, if you buy something very expensive. I have, in my little lifetime, gone over the top to buy something. And I was told by very important collectors, you shouldn't buy that. This is in 1991, because it's too sexual. You'll never sell it. And I said, I'm not interested in selling it. And now I've had 3 offers of a fortune for it, but I don't let it go. But that's not why I bought it. So you have to really think about who you are.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're choosing this art because it's a reflection of you, and it's a way of you expressing yourself to whoever comes into your home. And you know, and that's what it's all about. So I really want to thank you for allowing us to see a little bit of your collection and hear a lot about what you have to say. And you know, I'm so glad that you're part of this ad art show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think we'll go back to Emily, if she comes back, to end the exhibit.
It was my pleasure.
Yes, thank you very much for a wonderful interview. And thank you, Emily, for wrapping it up for us.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank you, Debbie and Laura, for today's great conversation.
Emily, just 1 second. You have a very famous last name.
I do, William, yes. Laura, you're muted.
Okay. Can you
Got
hear
it?
me now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Jack Shaman, the
Mhm.
gallery, has this fabulous artist that when he was 25,000, I thought it was too much, and now he's 2 million. You know, it's your last name,
I
L.
do.
Anastasi.
I
Okay,
do.
great. Carry on.
Thank you, Laura.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm going to leave now.
Thank you, Laura and Debbie, for today's great conversation. And thank you all for tuning in to today's live stream. We encourage you to tune in tomorrow for our next live Lunchtime POV interview, Creative Ambassadors in the Ad Industry, hosted by Bennett D. Bennett, Principal of Aerialist and co-founder of 600 and Rising, featuring Beth Ann Kamiko, Global CEO of Geometry Global, and Pete Favat, Creative Chairman of WHLA. Make sure you visit mvvoart.com and check out our artsy gallery at artsy.net/mvvo. And follow us on Instagram at mvvoart for more information on this year's show, where to buy art, and for more about our programming for the month of September. I encourage everyone to go to our website and view our fundraiser and custom ink and buy a commemorative branded t-shirt to support City Harvest during Hunger Action Month. Visit the Oculus at the Westworld Trade Center if you are able to see the Ad Art Show 2020 come to life on the screens. While you're there, make sure to stop at Italy for a free coffee and dessert. Thank you all, and we'll see you